I aced the SATs on purpose, just to get away from the campus queen, Sophia Miller. After the exam, Sophia's friends cornered me, taunting, "Ethan," Sophia said she bombed her test. "You'd better turn in a blank paper this afternoon, or you'll lose your chance to keep kissing up to her." They all burst out laughing. I glanced at Sophia's disgusted expression, nodded, and said, "Got it." But inside, I was thinking, whoever wants to be her doormat can have at it. I'm done. The moment I turned away, I called my family's butler and gave the order to immediately cut off all financial support to her family and kick them out on the street. Sophia frantically called me 99 times, and I ignored every single one. So now she's desperate? Where was this energy before? In my past life, as the son of the wealthiest man in the country, I was utterly obsessed with my family's chauffeur's daughter. To marry her, I even signed over the company my father left me. But she spent my money while dating another guy. She spoiled her boyfriend rotten, treating him like a prince, while I was reduced to her personal errand boy. On the day of her wedding, I called her, desperate to borrow money for a doctor's visit, but her words were brutal. "These years of you clinging to me have been a living nightmare. Ethan, just do everyone a favor and die." As I lay dying, the woman holding me in her arms, I finally realized that Chloe Sterling, the heiress from New York's high society I had once pushed away, had been waiting for me the entire time. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in my senior year of high school. That year, I was napping at my desk when the manipulative Sophia woke me up. "Ryan's stomach is upset. Hurry up and buy him some antacids, then go to the cafeteria and get him lunch. Make sure to get extra meat. He's too skinny and needs to eat more." Ryan was slumped over his desk, surrounded by a crowd of fawning classmates. His stomach ache had everyone's attention, but no one was more concerned than Sophia. She was Ryan's girlfriend, and the two of them consistently ranked first and second in our class. In everyone else's eyes, they were a match made in heaven, the perfect couple. And me? I was just Sophia's mindless doormat, sleeping through class and spending my breaks fetching her food and drinks. Realizing I had been reborn, seeing that same manipulative face, I couldn't help but find it all laughable. What right did Sophia Miller have to treat me like this? Seeing me just sitting there, she snapped, "Are you an idiot? Get going, and be quick about it." With that, she walked over to Ryan and started rubbing his back tenderly. Ryan glanced at me and said to Sophia, "Maybe we shouldn't make Ethan do this. I can go myself. What's the big deal? He loves doing this stuff. He'd probably be upset if I didn't ask him, right?" She turned to look at me, expecting me to agree. I gave a slight smirk and headed to the cafeteria without a word. I got in line and ordered 2 meals. A student next to me chuckled. "Getting lunch for Queen Sophia again, huh? Too bad she's into Ryan, someone on her level. She'd never go for a guy like you." I asked, confused. "What kind of guy is that?" He sneered. "Aren't you just the help's son? You think riding to school with the young miss every day means you'll actually get to marry her? Get real. A dumb, worthless guy like you will only ever be her family's servant, washing her clothes, sweeping her floors, and changing her kids' diapers." I shot back, furious. "Did Sophia tell you I'm a servant's son? The only reason she was even in the car that drove me to and from school was because I liked her and made a special exception." But now, in everyone's eyes, Sophia was the rich heiress, and I was the chauffeur's kid. Hearing my question, the guy rolled his eyes. "What do you think? Now hurry up and get the miss her lunch before it gets cold." He started laughing again, and soon everyone around us was laughing too, mocking my pathetic devotion and my delusional fantasies. The bell rang for the end of lunch. I saw Sophia leaving the cafeteria, but instead of going back to class, I sat down on a bench by the flower beds and ate both meals myself. I couldn't even remember the last time I'd eaten a proper meal. In my past life, I was so broke I couldn't afford anything decent, always scrounging for leftover vegetables at the market after it closed. Meat was an impossible luxury. Finishing both portions barely took the edge off my hunger. By the time I got back to the classroom, the late bell had already rung. Sophia saw me walk in and demanded angrily, "Where have you been? And where's the medicine?" "What medicine?" I asked, my voice cold, completely devoid of the warmth I usually had for her. Sophia stared at me, exasperated. "The antacids for Ryan. I told you his stomach was hurting. Are you deaf? You can't even handle one simple task." I glanced over at the pale-faced Ryan. What am I to Ryan? Why should I be the one buying him medicine? Ryan's family wasn't well off, and ever since he started dating Sophia, she'd been incredibly generous to him. Every time my dad gave me something nice, Sophia would end up giving it to Ryan. Even the watch on his wrist right now used to be mine. These two used my credit cards, spent my money, and enjoyed all the perks of my life, yet they treated me like their personal servant. Sophia snapped, Fine, Ethan, have it your way. You just want to cause a scene, don't you? But if you keep this up, don't blame me when I ignore you. You'll come crawling back, begging for my forgiveness. I stared at Sophia, her words striking me as absurd. What could I possibly need your forgiveness for? What did I do wrong? Seeing me actually talk back to Sophia, the other students started to stare. What was happening? Had their resident doormat finally grown a spine? Sophia was taken aback for a second. She looked at me, remembering all the times I'd pleaded with her, and issued a warning. If you've got such an attitude, then don't even think about riding home with me this afternoon. I just nodded. Fine by me. I walked over to my desk and sat down, acting as if I hadn't quite heard her, though I'd already agreed. Ryan's deskmate, Jessica, saw the whole thing and stood up to play the hero. Seriously, Ethan, what is your problem? She just asked you to buy some medicine, and you couldn't even do that? Can't you see Ryan is sick? I shot her a cold look. In that case, you're free to go buy it yourself. Jessica retorted indignantly. That's your job. Why should I have to do it? My job? I'm not related to Ryan. Why is it my job? Jessica pointed at me. You're a servant in the campus queen's house. Being asked to buy medicine for her boyfriend is perfectly normal, isn't it? At that, I turned my gaze to Sophia. Sophia, are you the one going around telling people I'm your family's servant? When I looked at her, Sophia flinched, a flicker of guilt in her eyes. Of course, the rumors started because people saw her getting dropped off in a luxury car every day. She just never bothered to correct their assumptions. She could never admit that her father was just a chauffeur, and that she was the daughter of my family's driver. And now, I was the one being made out to be crazy. Sophia, who was my deskmate, walked over. Forget the medicine, I'll go get it myself later. She probably figured I was just jealous and that my crush on her made me unwilling to help Ryan. Sophia glanced at me again. What about the lunch you got? Even if I didn't get the medicine, I must have gotten the food, right? Besides, she'd heard from someone in the cafeteria line that I had bought 2 meals. I replied calmly, I ate it. What, you ate both of them? Seeing her getting flustered, I simply nodded. Yep. The girls in the row ahead of me overheard and shot me a look of disgust. Are you a pig? How could you eat 2 whole meals? They were used to kissing up to Sophia and looking down on me. I used to put up with it because they were her friends, and I didn't want to offend anyone in her circle, hoping they might put in a good word for me. Now I realized I had just been spoiling them. Every time Sophia treated them to a meal, she was using my money. I stated calmly, I'm spending my own money. I could eat 20 meals if I wanted to, and it would still be my right. The girl's face darkened at my words. She muttered under her breath, Your own money? Isn't it all from Sophia's family? I couldn't be bothered to explain, but I could see Sophia beside me was starting to get angry. The fact that I hadn't gotten her lunch, leaving her hungry, made her temper flare. She turned to me and seethed, Ethan, you brought this on yourself. Let's see how long you can keep this act up. With that, she stood up, gathered her things, and said to Ryan's deskmate, Jessica, let's switch seats. You can sit with him. This was her usual punishment whenever she was mad at me. She'd refused to sit next to me. After all, I had practically begged her to be my deskmate in the first place. She was supposed to be my tutor, sitting next to me to help me with my schoolwork. But thinking about it now, when had Sophia ever actually tutored me? She just ordered me around all day. She seemed to think this threat would still work on me, but I completely ignored her. Sophia was hungry, and Ryan was still miserable with his stomach ache. She sat there, her face grim, and shot a dark look at me by the window. This time, Sophia was genuinely furious, already planning how she'd make me pay when I inevitably came crawling back to apologize. After school, the Maybach sent to pick me up was waiting at the gate. I walked straight towards it as soon as I left the building. The whole school knew I had pissed off Sophia, and they were all eager to watch the fallout. Seeing me shamelessly get into the car, they started pointing and whispering. He wouldn't even buy her lunch, but he has the nerve to keep mooching a ride in her family's car? He's just the help's son. Does he actually think he's the one in charge? Sophia isn't even here yet, and he just gets in? Sophia is just too nice. If it were me, I'd have fired an arrogant servant's son like that on the spot. I heard their taunts but couldn't be bothered to respond. Once inside, I told the driver, let's go. The driver glanced back. But Miss Miller isn't here yet. We should wait. Sometimes Sophia would be late because of student council, and I would always wait for her. I had expected a long wait today as well, so my immediate order to leave surprised him. Seeing the driver disobey me and even defend Sophia, I found it laughable. Mr. Miller, my father has one son. Since when does the Carter family have a miss? Did you and Sophia have a fight? Mr. Miller asked, concerned. Don't worry, young master. I'll have a word with her when I get home. That won't be necessary, I said. Just drive. I don't want to ride with her, and I don't want to see her again. Mr. Miller hesitated, not following my order. He knew perfectly well how scared I was of his daughter. I never dared to talk back to her. He figured that even if he ignored me, the worst that would happen is Sophia would chew me out a little. Convinced that I would one day inherit the family fortune and that it would all belong to his daughter, the driver had stopped acting like an employee and started putting on airs, like he was already my father-in-law. Are you going to drive, or not? I demanded, my brow furrowed. The truth was, my dad had wanted to fire him ages ago after hearing he had a gambling problem. My father didn't feel safe with someone like that around. But I was an idiot back then. I defended him, thinking that if he stayed, Sophia could stay close to my family. I said all sorts of good things about him, even claiming he treated me exceptionally well. That's the only reason he still had his job. And now, he wouldn't even listen to me, his employer's son. They're here, he announced. Seeing Sophia at the gate, Mr. Miller quickly got out of the car to greet them. Sophia was helping Ryan as they walked to the car. Mr. Miller opened the door, and Sophia started to guide Ryan inside. Because of my crush on Sophia, I had always let Ryan ride with us just so she would come along. The driver would always have to drop Ryan off first before taking us home. He even had to get up extra early to pick Ryan up in the mornings. Before Ryan could get in, I spoke up. I thought you said you weren't riding home with me. Why are you getting in my car? The students watching couldn't help but start criticizing me. What's wrong with Ethan? That's clearly Sophia's car. Exactly. Why is he acting like he owns the place? Yeah, they're already being nice enough to let him ride, and now he's trying to keep her out. As everyone chattered, Sophia stared at me, her expression stiff. She couldn't understand what had gotten into me. I wasn't even taking the easy way out she was offering. Do you have to be this way? I'm not even mad about lunch anymore. I've decided to forgive you. Ethan, are you really going to drag this out? I said, I don't need your forgiveness. Find your own way home. Just don't ride with me. I'm begging you. Sophia's face went from pale to flushed. She knew her whole rich girl persona depended on being seen with me. If she didn't get in this car, her cover would be blown. She simply reached over, pulled me right out of the car, and then helped Ryan get in. Sophia, don't you think that's going too far? I had to admit, she had finally gotten under my skin. I'd forgotten so many details from my past life, but seeing her audacious behavior now, I couldn't imagine how I'd ever tolerated it, let alone thought she was wonderful. Sophia ignored me, clearly having no intention of reasoning with me. She just ordered her dad, drive, and Mr. Miller actually drove off, leaving me standing there on the curb. The crowd of onlookers burst into laughter. Serves him right. He's so unreasonable. I pulled out my phone. It was actually Sophia's old phone. To win her over, I had given her the brand new flagship phone my dad got me for my birthday, and in return, she gave me this cheap piece of junk. At the time, I thought it was a way to protect her pride. Now, looking at this crappy phone, it just seemed pathetic. Still, it worked well enough to call my dad. A few moments later, the Maybach that had just left came speeding back. The car pulled up to the curb again. Mr. Miller got out, his face grim when he saw me. Young master. He had clearly been chewed out. Please ask those two to exit the vehicle. I don't want to share a car with them. Mr. Miller looked towards the car, where Sophia was already helping Ryan get out. Ryan hadn't expected this turn of events either. He looked at me, his face pale. Ethan, it's fine if you have a problem with me, but you don't need to take it out on Sophia. She's always been good to you, hasn't she? Sophia stopped him. Don't bother talking to him. Once they were both out, I got into the car. Before we drove off, I rolled down the window, gave Sophia a little wave, and said with a smile, goodbye. Mr. Miller glanced at me in the rearview mirror, clearly surprised by how ruthless I was being. He couldn't help but try to smooth things over. Young master, arguments happen. Don't be angry. I'll have Sophia apologize to you later. It's just she doesn't have a ride now. She'll have to take the bus, and who knows what time she'll get home. Everyone else can take the bus. Why can't she? Mr. Miller, have you forgotten who signs your paychecks? If you have a problem with me, perhaps you should just quit. How dare he try to tell me what to do? Just because I had a crush on his daughter, he thought he could disrespect me? If I hadn't called my dad, he would have actually left me stranded. Hearing my words, Mr. Miller was so startled he immediately fell silent. When I got home, our housekeeper, Mrs. Davis, saw me. Young master, you're back alone? Where is Miss Miller? I replied, from now on, there is no Miss Miller in this house. Mrs. Davis paused, surprised by my words. When had her young master finally come to his senses? I had always been so devoted to Sophia that her and her father had started to get confused about who was really in charge. Mrs. Davis had wanted to say something many times but never dared, knowing it would upset me. Hearing me say this now, Mrs. Davis was visibly moved. She looked at me, and I remembered she had always been the kindest of all the staff. But in the past, because I was so focused on Sophia, I'd actually been hostile towards her. I recalled that after Sophia took control in my past life, Mrs. Davis was the very first person she fired. Remembering everything, seeing Mrs. Davis standing here now, my eyes began to sting. "I'm going to head upstairs," I told her. "All right," she replied. "Miss Sterling is here. Should I tell her to leave?" Chloe Sterling actually visited often, but because she was the one my father had arranged for me to meet, and I was obsessed with Sophia, I couldn't stand her. Every time she came, I refused to see her and had her sent away immediately. Because of that, I'd barely even seen her face more than a handful of times. Remembering that it was her people who took me to the hospital before I died, and that she still considered herself my fiancée, I stopped Mrs. Davis. "I'll see her." "Where is she?" "In the backyard, playing with Snowy." I went out to the backyard and saw Chloe feeding Snowy. I was the one who had insisted on getting the dog, but because Sophia said she didn't like dogs, I'd stopped paying any attention to him. I was surprised to see Chloe getting along so well with him. She was wearing her school's simple blue uniform, yet she somehow made it look beautiful. I remembered hearing about her before I died, how someone with her looks and background had stayed single all those years, and my eyes started to burn. After she finished feeding Snowy, Chloe looked up and saw me. I was standing in the doorway, and she wasn't sure how long I'd been there. She started to walk towards me, then seemed to remember how much I despised her and stopped in her tracks. "Ethan." Chloe was beautiful, but she had a very calm and mature demeanor. Even though we were the same age, she carried herself like someone in their 20s. As for her academics, she was always ranked #1 in the state. She was the person Sophia resented the most. Sophia always claimed the only reason Chloe was so successful was because her family provided her with endless resources. She insisted that if she had the same advantages, she would be even better than Chloe. Every time Chloe's grades were posted, Sophia would get upset, and her attitude had rubbed off on me, making me treat Chloe like an enemy. But thinking about it now, we had never even spoken. How could she have possibly done anything to offend me? Seeing her now, I struggled to keep my emotions in check and asked, "Did you need something?" "I just came to see how you were," Chloe replied. When I didn't respond, she added tactfully, "I know you don't want to see me. I'll leave now." She hadn't expected to see me at all. She'd only come to visit Snowy. The fact that I was even speaking to her was more than she'd hoped for. As she turned to leave, I quickly asked, "Do you want to stay for dinner?" Chloe stopped, looking at me with genuine surprise. "Really?" The setting sun was at my back, casting a warm glow that seemed to soften my features. "Of course." Sophia wasn't back yet. She was still taking Ryan home. In the past, I would have insisted on waiting for her before we ate. Seeing me ready for dinner so early, Mrs. Davis was surprised. "We're not waiting for Miss Miller?" "What for?" The entire household staff was so used to me being Sophia's doormat that my sudden change was throwing them off. Mrs. Davis didn't press the issue. "All right, I'll have dinner served right away. Oh, and by the way," I added, "please inform Mr. Miller that he doesn't need to come in tomorrow." "What?" Mrs. Davis froze for a second before catching herself. It wasn't her place to question my decisions. "Understood." After firing Sophia's father, I went to the dining room and sat down. Chloe had been sneaking glances at me, but she quickly looked away when I sat down. I was surprised by how shy she was and couldn't resist teasing her a little. "Why aren't you looking at me? Am I that hard to look at?" My grades were terrible, but I wasn't bad looking. If Sophia hadn't ruined me in my past life, things would have been very different. Chloe met my gaze again. "No," she said, her expression perfectly composed. "But if you looked closely, you could see the tips of her ears were bright red." I smiled. "By the way, I hear you're a really good student." My sudden friendliness seemed to make her a little uncomfortable. "I do all right," she said modestly. "Do you know any good tutors? I could use a recommendation." After all, counting on Sophia was clearly a lost cause. This time around, I wasn't going to be the idiot who thought his father's money would protect him forever, the idiot who never even bothered to study. I had a second chance, and I needed to get my grades up. Chloe had access to the best resources. Any tutor she recommended would be top-notch. "You're looking for a tutor? What about that Sophia girl? She's fired." She had heard I had a tutor, a classmate who was living in my house. But Sophia looked down on me and had zero patience for teaching, so all the money I paid her for tutoring was a complete waste. Chloe seemed surprised. Seeing I was serious, She took a sip of water, as if to hide a hint of nervousness. I don't have a tutor. I've always studied on my own. But if you wouldn't mind, I could come over and help you. She probably assumed I'd refuse, considering I used to not even give her the time of day. She was already shocked I'd asked her to stay for dinner. But to her surprise, my face lit up. Really? Chloe nodded, looking almost flattered. If you're willing, I can teach you. I'd love that. I'm just worried it would get in the way of your own studies. Don't worry, she said, her expression neutral but her eyes soft. It won't be a problem. She had already finished the entire high school curriculum and had a guaranteed spot at a top university, but she didn't say anything, probably afraid of my reaction. Then thank you, I said. My grades are terrible, so please don't get frustrated if I'm slow. Sophia's grades were great too, but she had zero patience with me. If I didn't understand a problem after one explanation, she'd call me an idiot. My grades were actually average before she started tutoring me. She made them worse and completely destroyed my confidence. I won't, she promised. I'll come over after school then. As we ate, I noticed how quiet Chloe was, so I put some food on her plate. Make yourself at home. You don't have to be so formal. Just then, Sophia walked in, having just dropped Ryan off. She had already heard that her father was fired and had gotten an earful from him. When she saw me eating without her, with all the dishes already served and started, her face fell. I gave her an indifferent glance and kept eating. Sophia had clearly come to confront me about her father, but seeing Chloe at the table, she asked with annoyance, "What is she doing here?" In the past, to please her, I never got close to any other girls. Every time Chloe came over, I'd have her sent away without a second glance. She never expected I would actually invite her to stay for dinner. She's my guest. Do you have a problem with that? Sophia had no choice but to sit down. She stared at me. Did you invite her over just to make me angry? She knew I couldn't stand Chloe. In every academic competition, if Chloe was participating, Sophia knew she had no chance at first place. Chloe sat quietly, saying nothing. I looked at Sophia. You're overthinking it, Sophia. You're not that important. I used to think she was the center of my universe, that everything I did was for her. But in this new life, all I felt when I looked at her was disgust. Liking someone like her would only drag me down into a bottomless pit. If you think being with other girls will make me jealous, Ethan, you're seriously mistaken, she scoffed. Frankly, I'd be thrilled to see you with someone else. At least then you'd stop bothering me all the time. With that, she stormed upstairs to her room. I was left speechless. As soon as Sophia was gone, I saw Chloe's expression turn complicated. Don't listen to her, I explained quickly. She wasn't going to get mad over that, was she? I wasn't sure. To my surprise, Chloe didn't say a word, but her demeanor suddenly seemed a little cooler. After dinner, I walked Chloe to the door. Get home safe, I said. Okay. She walked out without another word, her usual quiet self. When I got back inside, Sophia was coming down the stairs. She had changed out of her uniform and was just wearing a simple t-shirt. Despite all the terrible things she would do, I had to admit she had a pretty face, one that made her look gentle and serene. That was the face that had fooled me for so long. Now she confronted me. Why did you fire my father? She had waited until we were alone to ask, not wanting anyone else to know the truth, that she was merely the chauffeur's daughter. Making a scene in front of Chloe would have been humiliating for her. Do I need to explain my staffing decisions to you? I asked. He's my father. Sophia shot back. What happened today was my fault. I told him to do it. If you have a problem, take it out on me. Go ahead, fire me. The mention of firing her immediately lifted my spirits. I looked right at her. Fine, no problem. What did you just say? Sophia stared at me, shocked. I said, you've always thought I was stupid, right? Well then, let's just call it quits. Move out of my house. I'll find another tutor. Ever since you started helping me, my grades have only gotten worse. I don't think you deserve the generous salary I've been paying you. Sophia thought I was just bluffing, but she was starting to realize I was serious about firing her as my tutor. Your grades are bad because you're too stupid to keep up, she spat. I can explain a problem to Ryan once and he gets it. But you're as dumb as a rock, and you're blaming me for it. Seeing her still trying to blame me, I repeated, just move out of my house. Ethan, Sophia said, her brow furrowed in disapproval. You're a student. You should be focused on your studies. You spend all day daydreaming about us being together. No wonder your grades are so bad. What are you even talking about? Sophia scoffed. All these little games you're playing are just because you're jealous of me and Ryan. You're in a bad mood because I won't date you. But I'm focused on my studies right now, on getting into a good university. I'm not like you You don't even need to go to college with your family's money. That's why I can't be with you." I stared at her, genuinely stunned by her audacity. Took me a second to process it. "Who said I wanted to be with you? Seriously, Sophia, where do you get this confidence? Do you really think I want to date you?" Without my attention, she was nothing. Sophia just assumed I was being stubborn. "Think whatever you want. But I'm warning you, if you have Chloe over for dinner again, don't come crying to me when I ignore you." With that, she stormed back to her room and slammed the door. The nerve of her, acting like she owned the place. I went to my room and called Mrs. Davis, telling her to have all of Sophia's belongings removed from the guest room by morning. I wouldn't tolerate someone who thought they could walk all over me in my own home. I then got Chloe's number, saved it, and sent her a quick iMessage. "Did you get home okay?" She didn't reply. The next morning, since I no longer had to get up early to pick up Ryan, I was able to sleep in. I had assumed Sophia would be gone, so I was surprised to find her sitting at the dining table, waiting for me. I took a seat and started on my breakfast. Rushing to pick up Ryan every morning meant I almost never had time for a proper breakfast at home. Seeing her waiting there, I asked, "Not going to pick up your boyfriend?" "We can just leave early," she replied. "We're just friends, don't spread rumors," she added defensively. They had been secretly together for ages but never admitted it. For top students like them, dating was seen as a distraction. If Ryan hadn't accidentally let it slip in my past life, I never would have believed it. I looked up at her stubborn, defensive expression. Even now, she was still treating me like an idiot. After breakfast, I headed out, and Sophia followed right behind me. There was a new driver, who promptly opened the car door for me. I got in, and Sophia immediately followed. I looked at her. "Queen Sophia, what's the meaning of this? I thought you said you weren't riding with me anymore." "I remember your exact words from yesterday." Sophia pressed her lips together, saying nothing. If her father hadn't forced her to placate me, she wouldn't be here. So what if his family has money? He's just a bully. She was probably thinking. But her father needed this job. I didn't want to waste any more time on this, so I just told the driver to go. When we got to school, I got out, and Sophia trailed behind me. Usually, Ryan would have been with us. Today, Ryan had taken the bus. He saw Sophia and hurried over, his eyes landing on me. After the scene I'd made yesterday, he couldn't figure me out. How could a mere servant's son dare to be so arrogant to Sophia? Seeing Sophia and me arrive together, he asked, "Did you two make up?" I ignored them both and walked straight into the school. Sophia watched me go, a slight frown on her face as I paid her no attention. She turned to Ryan and said, "There's nothing to argue about with him." Ryan said, "Still, you're too nice, letting a servant's son walk all over you like that. Now people are starting to gossip that Ethan's the real heir." Sophia replied, "Don't worry about what they think. My dad and Ethan's father are on good terms, and he asked me to look out for Ethan. I can't just ignore him, can I?" "Okay." Hearing that she was only doing it because of her father, Ryan felt a bit relieved. When I got to the classroom, Leo was already there, blocking my path to my seat. "Move," I said. Leo glanced at me. "You've got some nerve. Yesterday you just abandoned Sophia and Ryan and drove off by yourself." I looked at Leo and let out a small laugh. "It's my car. I have the right to decide who rides in it. What's it to you? Who are you, anyway?" My confident tone made everyone around us curious. "Are you saying that Maybach is yours?" someone asked. "What do you think?" I replied, glancing at them. Leo just laughed. "You? Ethan, we all know who you are. Are you really trying to play the rich kid? Do you think you have the right? I heard that driver is your dad, and your whole family works for the Millers. Sophia is just too nice to hold it against you, otherwise she would have had you all fired ages ago. But you shouldn't push your luck." Leo was good friends with Ryan, and Ryan was always with Sophia. Hearing him say this, everyone believed him. Just then, Sophia and Ryan appeared in the classroom doorway. Sophia's expression was stiff. Leo's words weren't just an attack on me, they were an insult to her. She walked over and told Leo, "Go back to your seat." Leo shot Sophia a helpless look, clearly sensing her displeasure, and moved out of the way. Sophia sat down next to me again. I didn't react. I truly didn't care what she did anymore. She was a teacher's pet with great social skills, so no one would question her for switching seats. Leo, now sitting next to Ryan, grumbled, "Ryan, what's with Sophia? Ethan is walking all over her, but she's still protecting him, even moving to sit with him." Ryan explained, "Her dad asked her to look after Ethan. It's nothing more than that, don't read into it." "Oh, so that's it," Leo said. "No wonder Ethan's so smug, even claiming that car is his. Sophia's phone looks expensive, and the gifts she gives you aren't cheap. Then you look at Ethan, his phone is a piece of junk like mine. Who'd believe he's some rich kid? I snuck a look at my phone. Chloe had finally replied to my iMessage from last night. It was a single letter, K. It seemed so cold. I remembered how friendly she had been yesterday, but her attitude seemed to have chilled overnight. I'd sent the message last night, and she was only just now replying. Sophia, sitting beside me, glanced over and saw the name on my screen was still Chloe. She frowned. On the surface, nothing had changed, but since yesterday, she felt like I was a completely different person. I pulled out my phone again and messaged Chloe. So are you still coming to tutor me this afternoon? She replied with another single letter, K. As long as she was coming, that's all that mattered. I put the matter out of my mind. I was incredibly focused during class. At lunchtime, Ryan came over, and he and Sophia headed downstairs to eat. Sophia couldn't help but glance at me as she left. Aren't you going to lunch? My focus today seemed to amaze her. I hadn't even dozed off once. I was still busy organizing my notes. It was almost funny. The old me, whose brain was occupied only by her, was now actually studying. Seeing me still working after the bell, Sophia asked her question again out of curiosity. I acted as if I hadn't heard her, completely ignoring her. Ryan glanced at her and said, "If Ethan's not coming, let's just go. We can bring something back for him." "Don't bother," I said, rejecting Ryan's offer. Ryan was a good guy, at least that's how everyone saw him. Even when people made fun of him behind his back, he always maintained a positive attitude. But I didn't want to be indebted to anyone. I neatly packed up my things, stood up, and left without them. As they walked, Ryan asked Sophia, "What's his deal? He's ignoring you. What did you do to him?" Sophia was just as confused. She wanted to know too. Normally, no matter how cold she was, I'd follow her around like a lost puppy. But starting yesterday, even though she hadn't done anything different, I was acting this way. It was baffling. Ryan then asked, "By the way, are you going to invite him to your birthday party this weekend?" It was Sophia's birthday this week. Last year, her party was at the Regent Grand. I had booked the venue, arranged everything, and had her invite the whole class. The party cost a fortune. Everyone who went raved about it, considering it an honor to be invited. This year was supposed to be the same. I had already made all the arrangements days ago. If I hadn't threatened to fire her, Sophia wouldn't be worried. But after my words yesterday and my coldness today, her mind was racing. If I didn't show up, could she even have the party? Watching my retreating figure, Sophia tried to reassure herself. Asterisk, what am I worried about? Of course he'll come. He wouldn't miss my birthday. Asterisk, maybe he was just being cold to set up some big surprise. At that thought, she relaxed a bit and told Ryan, "He'll definitely be there." "True," Ryan agreed. "He's there every year." That afternoon, Sophia and Ryan had a rehearsal for the school anniversary celebration. I didn't wait for her. I went straight home. Chloe was already there. As soon as I got home, she and Snowy came to greet me. Seeing her there made me smile. Maybe it was because of our connection in my past life, but every moment I spent with her now felt incredibly precious. Seeing the smile on my face, Chloe paused. She was so used to my cold, bratty attitude that my recent warmth always seemed to make her a little shy, unable to meet my eyes. I teased her. "You're here early. Let's just head to the study," she suggested. I led her upstairs. I'd run into a lot of concepts I didn't understand in class today, and I was hoping she could help me with them. We both sat down in the study. The seat next to me used to be Sophia's, but even when she sat there, she never actually taught me anything, usually complaining that I was wasting her study time. Chloe sat down beside me and pulled out a couple of practice tests, wanting to gauge my current level. I focused and completed the tests, then handed them to her. Chloe took them and reviewed them silently for a moment. I felt a flush of shame. "Sorry, I know I'm really slow." "It's not you," Chloe said. "Your study methods just aren't very effective. I'll start by helping you with the fundamentals. Okay?" I nodded. "Okay." As Chloe taught, she kept her head down, focused on the material, never looking at me. But her way of explaining things was incredibly clear. Concepts I had struggled with for ages suddenly clicked and made perfect sense. Chloe had been explaining for a while, and I was starting to get thirsty. She looked up and caught me staring at her. She swallowed nervously and quickly looked back down at the textbook. "What is it? Do you have a question?" "I was just thinking you're really patient with me, but you're so cold over text. All I get are one-word replies. Are you upset with me because of my history with Sophia?" Chloe denied it. "No, I had family over yesterday, so I was busy and didn't see your message until this morning. If you ever need anything, you can just call me." Just as we were getting back to work, my phone rang. I answered it. It was Sophia. "Ethan, what is the meaning of this? What did I do now?" I asked, completely baffled by her accusatory tone. Sophia yelled, "You actually had her throw all my stuff out." I glanced at Chloe, then said plainly into the phone, "I told you yesterday you're fired. That means you have no reason to be living in my house anymore, right? I'm in the middle of something, so don't bother me." With that, I hung up. Sophia was probably standing outside the front gate, staring at the pile of her belongings on the curb, unable to believe I would actually do this. Was I really kicking her out? Why? I put my phone down. "Let's continue," I said to Chloe. She nodded. A few moments later, the door to the study was thrown open. Sophia stood in the doorway, her face dark with fury. Her eyes landed on me and Chloe, a flicker of contempt in her gaze. I stood up. "What are you doing here? I thought you couldn't stand me. I thought you looked down on me. Why are you so desperate now?" Sophia strode forward. "Ethan, do you think it's funny to humiliate me like this?" she demanded. Chloe stood up too, instinctively moving to stand slightly in front of me. "Humiliate you?" I shot back, seeing her rage. "Are you confused? How did I humiliate you?" "Sophia, you're the one who's been humiliating me. I pay for everything in your life, yet you and Ryan are inseparable, and I have to trail behind you both like a servant, waiting on you hand and foot while you treat me like dirt. You don't call that humiliation? Now that I was simply taking back what was mine." She saw it as a personal insult. Sophia's lips tightened. "Don't think bringing someone else into this will pressure me into anything. I will never like you, and I will never date you. Let me be perfectly clear. I like Ryan. We're together, and I will never, ever have feelings for you." With that, she turned to leave, bumping into the doorframe on her way out. I went to the window and watched as she stormed downstairs, grabbed her bags, and left without a second's hesitation. Good riddance. Sophia had always projected an air of pride. Despite her family's poverty, she acted as if she was above it all, never succumbing to my money, no matter how much I gave her. I used to admire that about her. Now, it just seemed pathetic. Chloe saw me standing at the window. "Ethan," she said gently. I turned back to her. "Sorry, let's get back to it." She looked at me with concern. "Maybe I should head home for today. You don't seem to be in a good mood." "No, I'm in a great mood," I insisted. I was just thinking about my past life, about all the stupid things I'd done, not feeling sorry for Sophia at all. In fact, seeing her storm off like that made me happy. At least now, I didn't have to worry about my future. Away from her, I wouldn't get sick, and I wouldn't die a miserable death. "I think I'll go home," Chloe said, turning to leave. I stepped forward and grabbed her hand. She froze, turning back to stare at me. "What's wrong?" I wasn't sure what I was doing, but I wasn't an idiot. I could tell she was upset. Every time Sophia appeared and made a scene, Chloe would instinctively try to pull away from me. My obsession with Sophia had been no secret. I'm sure everyone, including Chloe, believed I was still in love with her. And it was true, I really had been, once. If it weren't for my tragic end in that past life, I might never have woken up. Seeing Chloe looking at me now, I let go of her hand. "Are you free on Saturday? I was thinking of getting dinner at the Regent Grand. Want to come?" The food at the Regent Grand was incredible. After starving in my past life, all I wanted now was to enjoy good food. Before, I would have definitely taken Sophia, but now I wanted to take Chloe. Besides, she was the one my father had arranged for me to marry. As long as I didn't screw things up, we would likely get married after graduation. I used to think my dad was disrespecting my choices, but looking back, Chloe was just as beautiful as Sophia, if not more so, with an even better figure. With her looks and her family background, if she was interested in me, I was definitely the one getting the better end of the deal. Chloe asked, "You're not going with her?" She was talking about Sophia. I countered, "So you want me to be with her? You want me to go back to avoiding you like I used to?" "Of course not," Chloe replied immediately. "Then it's a date," I said. "See you Saturday." I was running a little late on Saturday afternoon. As I walked into the hotel, I saw a bunch of my classmates by the entrance, all dressed up. When Leo, Ryan's best friend, saw me, he let out a derisive laugh. "Ethan, you actually have the nerve to show your face here." I frowned. "And why shouldn't I? The owner of the Regent Grand is a good friend of my father's. I'm a VVIP here. I can come whenever I want. The real question is, why wouldn't I be allowed?" Leo sneered. "Sophia hasn't given you the time of day for the past 2 days. Now it's her birthday, and you still have the gall to show up." "Sophia's birthday? Oh right, today was her birthday." I'd been so focused on my studies I'd completely forgotten. I had already arranged everything with the Regent Grand for her 18th birthday. In my past life, I threw her a lavish party there, making her the envy of the entire school. But it was also on that day that I found out she and Ryan were dating. When I confronted her, She was completely unapologetic. Ryan and I like each other. Why can't we be together? Ethan, can you just stop meddling in my life? I got angry and gave her the silent treatment, which lasted all of 2 days before I broke down and apologized first. And it was from that birthday onward that they started dating openly, right in front of my face. Eventually, I became so desperate that I begged Sophia to be with me. To convince her to marry me, I even signed over the company my father had left me. I was such an idiot. Looking at the bustling party now, I had no intention of engaging with them. I had arranged and paid for everything for Sophia's party. Now that I was done with her, she still had the audacity to show up and run up a tab. I was curious to see how she planned to settle the bill. I ignored their taunts and headed for the elevator. I had a reservation with Chloe and wondered if she had arrived yet. As soon as I stepped out of the elevator, I saw Sophia and Ryan chatting happily. She spotted me immediately, her eyes locking onto mine. A smug smile spread across her face as she walked over. "I knew you'd show up," she said, a hint of triumph in her voice. "Didn't you say you weren't coming? Don't think that just because you're here, I'll forgive you for what you did. I'm still mad at you, Ethan." She always did this, using her supposed anger to make me give in. I looked at her and smirked. "Can I help you? Aren't you here for my birthday party?" Sophia asked. "Why would I be? You didn't invite me, did you? With so many of your friends here, I'm sure you won't miss me." "Ethan, what are you trying to say?" Sophia asked, her voice laced with irritation. She thought I was just being stubborn, trying to ruin her birthday by making her angry. Just then, the restaurant manager approached me. "Mr. Carter, has Miss Sterling arrived yet?" I asked, and he nodded. "Yes, she's already here. Please show me the way, thank you." "Of course." The manager began to lead me to Chloe's table, but Sophia followed me. "Ethan, are you done with your little tantrum?" She couldn't believe I was still going to see Chloe. Was she being too nice? I glanced back at her. "I'm not the one making a scene. You are. You told me to stop bothering you, that I was annoying. So now that I'm not, what's your problem? Your boyfriend is waiting for you." I glanced over at Ryan, who looked like he wanted to follow but thought better of it. He had never seen Sophia act so desperately towards me before. Of course, I knew exactly why she was doing it. It wasn't me she couldn't let go of. It was my money. She had never liked me, but she had no problem enjoying all the things I provided. She would always refuse my gifts verbally, but she never failed to accept them. Now that I was ignoring her, she was panicking. After all the build-up for this party, how could she let it fall apart? "If this is about me and Ryan," Sophia said, "I can distance myself from him. If I do that, will you stop this?" For the first time ever, she was actually backing down. It just showed how desperate she was to save this party. It made sense. If she didn't care so much about her image, she wouldn't have built up this whole rich girl persona at school or invited so many people in the first place. So, she was afraid of being embarrassed after all. After seeing her act so high and mighty for so long, watching her compromise just for a party was fascinating. I nodded. "I know it's your birthday, and we wouldn't want to ruin the mood for everyone, right?" I then turned to the manager. "I previously booked the Emerald Ballroom under the name Sophia Miller." The manager checked his records. "Yes, Mr. Carter. Since it's Miss Miller's birthday, she can have the ballroom." I looked at Sophia. "Is that acceptable?" Sophia breathed a sigh of relief, seeing that I had given in. She looked at me. "So you did all this just to break me and Ryan up? You just can't stand to see us together. You're overthinking it. I couldn't care less who you're with. But Sophia, in time, you'll realize that without me, you're nothing." The manager stood by silently. My words had clearly humiliated her. "I'm done with you," she snapped, turning and walking away. The manager glanced at me. "I'll have the staff prepare the Emerald Ballroom then." I nodded. "Yes, but make sure she pays the entire bill herself before anyone leaves. Don't let a single person out until it's settled." "Understood, Mr. Carter." With that taken care of, I finally went to find Chloe. Sophia returned to Ryan's side, her face grim. "What happened? What were you two talking about?" he asked. "It was nothing," she replied curtly. She glanced at the kind, attentive Ryan beside her. Asterisk break up with him? In his dreams. Asterisk after tonight's party, she decided, she would be done with me for good. She would never give me the time of day again. Chloe wasn't in her school uniform today. She was wearing a pleated skirt. It was a simple design, but on her it looked incredibly elegant. When I walked in, she was focused on the menu. She heard me approach and looked up, her eyes meeting mine. I smiled. "Been waiting long?" "No, I just got here," she replied, her gaze steady on me. I was wearing a white t-shirt today, which made me look bright and clean, though I was still a bit thin. I sat down right next to her. Chloe hadn't expected me to sit so close and seemed a little flustered. There were plenty of other seats, but I chose the one beside her. I didn't notice her discomfort and asked, "Have you ordered yet?" "Not yet, I'm still looking. Let me see." I leaned in, looking over her shoulder at the menu she was holding. Chloe couldn't focus on the menu anymore. Her attention was on me. She noticed the clean, fresh scent of my shampoo, a pleasant smell that wasn't overpowering. I ordered a few dishes, choosing spicy options. The strong flavors seemed to remind me that I was alive. The memories of being sick, hungry, cold, and unable to sleep were a constant torment. Even now, I sometimes had nightmares that I was back in that life. The spice was getting to me, so I fanned my mouth and took a long sip of watermelon juice. Chloe asked, "Do you like spicy food?" "It's all right," I said, looking up at her. "I like it too," she said, matching my pace and trying some of the spicy dishes herself. We were in a private room with a waiter on standby. A few minutes later, the owner of the hotel walked in. His name was Mr. Wallace. Seeing him, I greeted him politely, "Mr. Wallace." Mr. Wallace smiled at me. "Ethan, you're here too." From his tone, I knew he wasn't here for me. Sure enough, he turned to Chloe. "Miss Sterling, welcome to the Regent Grand. Please let me know if there's anything at all you need." He was close with my father, which is how he knew who Chloe was. Most people had no idea about her background or that an heiress of the Sterling family from New York was living quietly in Crestwood. Chloe just gave a slight nod and went back to her meal. She was so reserved. I had started to think she was warm and friendly, but now I saw that she really didn't like talking to people. Mr. Wallace stood by for a moment, even pouring her water himself, but she remained silent. An unapproachable aura seemed to fill the room. Finally, Mr. Wallace took the hint. "Well, I'll leave you to your meal. Please enjoy. Ethan, take your time." "Wait a moment, Mr. Wallace," I called out, stopping him. He stopped and turned back. "Is there something else, Mr. Carter?" He had a warm, friendly smile, and I'd always liked him. However, if I remembered correctly, in my past life, a fire had broken out at the Regent Grand just 2 days after Sophia's birthday party. The cause was inadequate fire safety in the kitchen. When the fire started, they discovered the extinguishers were faulty. People were hurt in that fire. That incident was the downfall of the Regent Grand, which had been the best hotel in Crestwood. I heard Mr. Wallace's health declined severely after that. I looked at him now and asked, "Your hotel's fire safety systems are all up to code, right?" He looked surprised by my sudden question. "Why the sudden interest in that, Mr. Carter?" "I just think it would be a good idea to have everything inspected thoroughly," I said, "especially the kitchens." "Rest assured," Mr. Wallace said, "our fire safety systems are state-of-the-art. We take full responsibility for our guests' safety." I looked at him steadily. "Mr. Wallace, why don't you go check it yourself, just to be sure?" Seeing my persistence, a hint of annoyance crossed his face. He stared at me. "What are you implying, Mr. Carter? Do you not trust my word? Your father and I are old friends. He knows I'm an honest man. I run a respectable business. Are you questioning my integrity?" I was about his son's age. In his eyes, I was just a kid who didn't know anything. Then Chloe spoke up. "Since he's so concerned, perhaps it's worth taking a look." Chloe had barely said a word to him since he'd walked in, only giving short, clipped replies. But when she spoke, Mr. Wallace immediately deferred to her. "All right, I'll go check on it right now." Chloe had such a commanding presence, and combined with her status, her words carried more weight, even though she was my age. After Mr. Wallace left, I looked at her, surprised. "Why did you back me up?" I had only insisted because I knew what was going to happen. From her perspective, she had no reason to believe me. Chloe simply said, "You asked for something. It was only right to support you. Weren't you afraid I was just making it up? And what if you were?" Chloe replied calmly, "It's not a big deal. It just means he has to check. No harm done." She said it so matter-of-factly, but looking at her, I felt an incredible warmth spread through my chest. It was the feeling of being truly trusted. I remembered the moment I was diagnosed with HIV. No one believed I was a victim. They all assumed I had been reckless. If I had been, I would have owned it. But everyone blamed me, looked at me with disgust, and eventually, I started to hate myself too. I never imagined the truth. It wasn't that they wouldn't believe me. It was that Sophia had intentionally arranged for me to be stuck with a contaminated needle. She wanted an excuse to get out of marrying me. Only the person who sets you up truly knows how innocent you are. Chloe and I had a long dinner. We didn't leave after the main course, ordering dessert instead. I had even brought my homework, so we worked on it together, with her explaining the problems I was stuck on. We ended up staying until late into the evening. When Sophia's birthday party finally ended and her guests tried to leave, they were all stopped. Sophia hadn't paid the bill. She called me. I ignored it the first time. Chloe watched me from across the table. Not going to answer? I know who it is, I said, letting it ring. I finally picked up after she called 2 more times. Ethan, what is the meaning of this? Sophia's voice was practically screaming with rage. The angrier she got, the better I felt. I might be done with her, but I still had to get my revenge for my past life. Couldn't let it go. I smirked. Queen Sophia, what's wrong? Why so angry? Get over here and pay this bill, Sophia hissed, lowering her voice. Don't make a scene. She had planned to walk away from this party and never speak to me again. She never expected I'd be waiting for this. Now she was stuck with no money to pay, and all her guests were being held there, staring at her. I said, that's strange. It's your birthday, but I wasn't even at your party. Why should I pay? Why don't you just ask your friends to split the bill? You're all so close, and you're always treating them to things. I'm sure they wouldn't mind. I used to give Sophia a massive allowance every month, and she took it without a second thought, claiming it was her tutoring fee. She was very generous with it, always treating her friends, which made everyone think she was rich and eager to be in her circle. But it was all my money. Ethan, do you have to be this way? Sophia pleaded. What do you want from me? Just tell me and I'll do it. Just come pay this bill. I replied, if you're asking for a favor, you should at least sound like you're asking for a favor. Don't you think? I could hear her let out a frustrated sigh over the phone. She was furious that I wasn't unconditionally at her beck and call anymore. I smiled. Not willing? Fine. Then I'm hanging up. I'm begging you, Sophia finally choked out, her teeth clenched. The hotel staff had them completely blocked off. I hung up, stood, and told Chloe, I'll be right back. I walked down the hall to the Emerald Ballroom. All the party guests were still inside, unable to leave. Everyone was staring at Sophia, waiting for her to pay, and the atmosphere was incredibly awkward. She was trapped, forced to endure their stares. The manager came over as soon as I appeared. Mr. Carter, he said respectfully. I looked around at the crowd, all dressed to the nines. They had all been so arrogant this afternoon, but that arrogance was long gone now. After all, there's nothing more humiliating than being trapped because you can't pay the bill. I smiled. What's wrong, everyone? Isn't this Queen Sophia's birthday party? You all don't look very happy. I made a point of looking at Sophia. Her expression was darker than anyone's. Ryan stood awkwardly to the side, looking completely lost. The manager explained, this Miss Miller has not yet settled her bill. I am simply asking them to do so. I said casually, I see. Well, that's no big deal. No need for all this drama. They're my classmates. I'll take care of the bill tonight. I handed my black card to the manager, who took it to process the payment. The expressions on everyone's faces turned complicated. Sophia was celebrating her birthday, but she had to call me to pay the bill? What was going on? Couldn't she afford it herself? Sophia's face burned with humiliation. She stared at me, realizing I hadn't come to save her. I had come to embarrass her, to expose her to everyone as a fraud who depended on my money. I could have handled this quietly, but instead, I was making a public spectacle of it, swiping my card in front of everyone. He's insane, she must have thought. A moment later, the manager returned with my card and the receipt. All set, Mr. Carter. Here is your bill. I glanced at the bill and deliberately read the total aloud. $86,000. Wow. Happy birthday, Sophia. I'll cover it for you this year, but don't expect it again. After all, I can afford to support you, but I can't be expected to support your boyfriend too, can I? I finished and glanced over at Ryan. He was standing right there, his face turning an ashen gray. What was happening? All of Sophia's money came from Ethan? Wasn't she a rich heiress? The scene was a stunning reversal for everyone. Leo stepped forward. Ethan, what are you talking about? Just because Sophia lets you hold her money doesn't make it yours. You're just her family's servant's kid, helping her manage it. What are you so smug about? Does your family let the servants manage their finances? I asked Leo with a slight smile. Since you're so sure I'm the servant's son, let me set the record straight. I'm not. Her father was my family's chauffeur. The one who left me at the school gate to drive her and Ryan home. He's been fired, by the way. If you don't believe me, feel free to ask Sophia. I turned to look at Sophia. Queen Sophia, what do you say? She glared at me, her eyes filled with bitter resentment. In her entire life, no matter how poor she'd been, she had never suffered such a public humiliation. Now, everyone was laughing at her, but she couldn't say a word. She knew I could easily cancel the payment and leave her stranded again. She ignored me, turned, and walked out. Ryan, having witnessed the entire spectacle, quickly followed her out. The situation was unbearable, but he had no choice but to leave. Earlier today, he had been so proud, bragging to his friends that he was dating Sophia. He thought that dating a rich heiress would make him the envy of the school. He never imagined she was just the chauffeur's daughter. Why had she pretended to be rich all this time? After they had both gone, I glanced at the remaining guests. Well, that's all. You're all free to go. Be safe on your way home. It's getting late. One by one, they all filed out of the ballroom. I watched them go before leaving the ballroom myself. The manager escorted me to the elevators. Just then, Chloe walked up and we got into the elevator together. I was quiet on the ride down. Even though I had just set the record straight in front of everyone, I didn't feel particularly happy. Compared to the years of suffering I'd endured, this small act of revenge against Sophia did little to ease the bitterness in my heart. Chloe noticed my silence and didn't disturb my thoughts. When we reached the lobby, we saw Mr. Wallace waiting. He walked straight towards me. Ethan, this time he was here for me, not Chloe. Mr. Wallace, I said politely. He grabbed my hand. Ethan, thank you. You saved us. If it weren't for you, we would have had a disaster on our hands. I went to check myself and found so many issues caused by my cousin's negligence. I've already sent him packing. I felt a wave of relief. I'm glad I could help. He then asked curiously, how did you know there was a problem with our fire safety systems? The question caught me off guard. I had to come up with a quick excuse. I had a dream about it last night. Mr. Wallace laughed at my answer. All right, I won't press you. By the way, I had some gifts prepared for you both. He gestured to his assistant, who brought over 2 small gift bags. Thank you again. If you ever need anything, don't hesitate to ask. He would clearly remember this favor. Mr. Wallace walked us to the entrance, where Chloe's car was already waiting. I sat in the car, staring out the window. The streets were mostly empty of pedestrians, but there was still a bit of traffic. I remembered how talkative Chloe and I used to be, but tonight, the silence was heavy. Chloe didn't break the silence. She was probably thinking about how I had predicted the fire safety issue at the hotel. Logically, there was no way I should have known about it. She had also heard about what happened in the Emerald Ballroom. Today was Sophia's birthday, and instead of being with her, I had spent the entire evening with Chloe. Not only that, I had ended up publicly humiliating Sophia. It was clear I wanted to be done with her for good. So why, she must have wondered, did I look so dejected now? In truth, my melancholy only lasted a moment. I knew I had been reborn, that I had a second chance at everything. As long as I didn't repeat the stupid mistakes of my past, I could fix it all. The thought was exhausting, and I quickly felt drowsy. Studying so hard every day had left me perpetually tired. Before I knew it, I had leaned over and fallen asleep on Chloe's shoulder. Chloe instantly froze, not daring to move. By the time we reached my house, her arm was probably sore, but she didn't shift, afraid of waking me. She just sat there, perfectly still. Miss, we've arrived, the driver said. Chloe looked out the window, then back at my face, hesitating. The driver had already gotten out and was waiting by the door, but Chloe never woke me. I stirred when I felt the car stop, blinking myself awake and glancing out the window. Realizing I was home, I looked over at Chloe. She was sitting there quietly, not even daring to meet my eyes. I rubbed my stiff neck and sat up straight. We're here. Chloe gave a small nod. Why didn't you wake me? You were sleeping so soundly, she said, her face as impassive as ever. But as I looked at her, I noticed the tips of her ears were pink. I knew she was shy, but I hadn't realized just how much. Chloe. She looked at me when I said her name. Are you scared of me? I asked. No, she said, but you never look at me. When we're together, you act like you can't stand me. Chloe cleared her throat. I'm just not used to being this close to anyone. Am I the first? I couldn't help but smile. Then why don't you push me away? As if to prove she wasn't just following my lead, Chloe changed the subject. Why did you and Sophia break up? I thought you were in love with her. Her question caught me off guard. I stared out at the empty street. I just realized I don't like her anymore. It's nothing, I said. I'm heading in. I had just stepped out of the car when the main gate to our estate swung open, and my father, Mr. Carter, walked out. The sight of him made my face light up. Dad, you're back. My father was always busy with work, so I was usually home alone. We had plenty of staff, but few of them could ever rein me in. Even my own father spoiled me, rarely disciplining me, content as long as I was happy. Those were the most carefree days of my life. In my past life, though, he had tried to warn me off Sophia, but I wouldn't listen. Seeing him now, my heart filled with warmth. Standing in front of him, A long-suppressed feeling of being wronged washed over me. I threw my arms around him and burst into tears. You only let your guard down around the people you're closest to. My father, seeing me return so late, had initially put on a stern face, trying to assert some parental authority. But my sudden tears threw him into a panic. He softened immediately, patting my shoulder. What's wrong, son? Who bullied you? Was it that Sophia girl? I heard you fired her and her father. I held him tighter. It's nothing. I just missed you. You silly kid. Usually when I call, you complain that I'm bothering you. He then noticed the car. By the way, is that the Sterling's car? I turned and saw that Chloe had gotten out of the car and was standing by the gate. I felt embarrassed that she had seen me crying. Chloe dropped me off, I told my father. We went out for dinner. My dad looked at me surprised. The last time he had mentioned the arranged engagement, I had been vehemently against it, swearing I would never have anything to do with Chloe Sterling. And now we were spending time together. Though he didn't know what had caused this change, my father was pleased. Chloe, why don't you come in for a bit? He offered. Hello, Mr. Carter, Chloe replied politely. I should get going. I'll head home for tonight. She glanced at me one last time before getting into the car and driving away. I followed my father inside. Was it Chloe who upset you? He asked, seeing my red-rimmed eyes. I shook my head. No, she's been great to me. I sat on the sofa, my father's gaze still on me. He looked so young. Of course, he wasn't old when he died in my past life, but my memory of him was of a much older, wearier man. My father questioned me for a while longer, and only relaxed after he was sure Sophia hadn't bullied me. The next morning, I had just woken up when Mrs. Davis informed me that Sophia was here. The events of last night replayed in my mind. We had well and truly burned that bridge. Sophia had to know that I was done indulging her. I was surprised she had the nerve to show up. When I went downstairs, I saw it wasn't just her. Her father was with her. Mr. Miller was sitting on the sofa, speaking to my father. Mr. Carter, I know my Sophia has been thoughtless. I've already given her a stern talking to. She won't bother Ethan anymore. My father frowned. You refer to my son by his first name? He had never liked the Millers and would have gotten rid of them long ago if he wasn't afraid of me cutting him off. Mr. Miller realized his mistake and quickly corrected himself. Young master. I meant young master. When he saw me coming down the stairs, his attention shifted to me. Young master, good morning. I've brought Sophia here today to apologize. I turned to look at Sophia. She was sitting there silently, her face a mask of sullen resentment. Apologize? She didn't look like she was here to apologize. Unwilling was written all over her face. She clearly still hated me for what happened last night. There was no way she was going to apologize. I said, Don't be ridiculous, Mr. Miller. Sophia hasn't done anything to offend me. There's no need for an apology. But I heard you fired her. Mr. Miller himself hadn't been this anxious when he was fired. His own salary wasn't much after all. But Sophia was different. She was making a fortune just for tutoring me, and in his mind, the entire Carter fortune was within her grasp. Now that we were on the outs, there was no way he would let that go. I explained, she was my tutor, and for the past few years, my grades have only gotten worse. Besides, Sophia herself felt she wasn't up to the task. She said I was too stupid for her to teach. So, I was just respecting her wishes by letting her go. There's no conflict between us. No apology necessary. My father glanced at me, noting my calm expression. He remembered how I had insisted on having Sophia as my tutor, leaving him no choice but to agree. The fact that I had now fired her was both surprising and, he had to admit, a little touching. His son was finally growing up. I have to get to school, I said, ending the conversation. My father had someone escort the Millers out. After breakfast, I headed out to the waiting car. As the car pulled out of the driveway, I saw Sophia and her father still standing by the gate. Gone was the deferential man from our living room. Mr. Miller raised his hand and slapped his daughter hard across the face. I knew Sophia's story. Her father was a compulsive gambler, and her mother had run off, unable to take it anymore, leaving Sophia behind. She had grown up with him, borrowing money from relatives just to stay in school. As she got older, she had to fend for herself. The fact that she could still excel in her studies, always ranking first in the school, was remarkable. It was why I had felt so sorry for her, why I had taken such special care of her, giving her the best of everything just to make her life easier. But while I pitied her, she never pitied me. She just saw me as a walking ATM. The person she cared about was never me. I looked away and headed to school. After the events of yesterday, people's attitudes towards me had changed. They were friendlier. Classmates actually started coming up to talk to me. Ethan, is your family really that rich? So does that mean all of Sophia's money came from you? We all thought she was the rich one. I just replied, you didn't already figure that out? We just think it's weird. You were so good to Sophia. Why was she with Ryan instead of you? One girl asked. Another one joked, hey, rich boy, what about me? I promise I'd be way more obedient than Sophia. I looked at the slightly nerdy girl who had spoken and couldn't help but laugh. Just then, Sophia appeared. Hearing the girl's comment, Sophia sneered, you wish, as if he'd be interested in you. He has a new target now. It's not your turn, so get in line. A new target? At Sophia's words, everyone looked at me. What new target? Who could possibly be better than Sophia? Was there anyone at our school more outstanding than her? I didn't think so. Even though her rich girl status was gone, Sophia was still a top student and beautiful, so everyone still thought she had a bright future. Sophia ignored their questions and fixed her gaze on me. After being my doormat for so long, you're treating me like this just because I won't date you? Ethan, even if you try to force me, I will never like you. A spoiled rich kid like you, with your terrible grades, thinking your money can buy you anything, you're not worth one of Ryan's fingers. Her words reminded everyone of my academic failures. I wasn't just a doormat, I was an idiot. Before I could respond, Sophia brought up the party. You're the one who made me invite everyone. I didn't even want to go. And then you deliberately humiliated everyone. Do you think your money gives you the right to trample on people's dignity? And don't twist the truth. You didn't support me. That was my payment for tutoring you. I won't take another cent from you, but don't you ever expect my help again. After her speech, Sophia immediately switched seats with someone else, making a show of wanting nothing to do with me. Here we go again, back to her cold, untouchable academic goddess persona. She always did this, but I hadn't forgotten how she begged me for help just last night. For a moment this morning, when I saw her father hit her, I'd felt a flicker of pity. Now, I thought he hadn't hit her hard enough. I didn't let her get away with it. Tutoring? Sophia, you have the nerve to talk about tutoring? Since you started, have you done anything besides spend my money? My ranking at the bottom of the class every month is the direct result of your help, Sophia replied, her face a blank mask. I've told you before, you're just stupid. What does that have to do with me? Ethan, you're so rich. Why don't you use some of that money to buy a new brain? Her comment made the others laugh. I looked at her smug face. Are you sure I'm the stupid one? Or is it that your teaching methods are garbage? Sophia thought of Chloe, knowing I had a new tutor. She snorted. Fine. In that case, let's see your score on the next major test. You don't have to do much. If you can improve your class rank by just 100 places, I'll admit I was the problem. She wanted to see if Chloe could really teach me. My brain, in her opinion, was useless. Deal, I said, looking right at her. The fact that she only challenged me to improve by 100 places showed just how little she thought of me. Seeing that I'd agreed, Sophia announced to the class, you all heard him. If he improves his rank by 100 places on the next test, I'll run a 10K. Whoa! The class erupted in excited murmurs. All eyes on Sophia. Leo turned to me. Since Sophia's running a 10K, you should too if you lose. But can you even run that far, Ethan? If you're going to chicken out, just admit defeat now. I looked at them and said, fine. Improving by 100 places isn't that hard, especially after studying with Chloe for the past few days. Her teaching style was so clear, and I could already feel myself improving, so I agreed without hesitation. It would be good motivation. A clear goal gives you drive. When I agreed, Sophia let out a small laugh. Idiot, she muttered and sat down. She couldn't believe I'd actually taken the bet. She knew my academic level better than anyone. When she tutored me, I was always completely lost. She was already looking forward to watching me suffer through that 10K run. Just as the bet was made, Ryan walked in. He had been standing in the doorway and had heard everything. He had been down all night, but now he had come to a realization. Sophia was not only a top student and beautiful, but even if she was poor, she was hardworking and ambitious. Wasn't that 100 times better than a useless rich kid like me? He was sure she would be successful on her own merits one day. He wasn't losing out by being with her. With that thought, he walked over to her. Sophia, even though your father is just a driver, he earns an honest living. And you've always been the top student. It must have been so hard for you to get this far, coming from your background. I will always support you. Ryan's speech instantly moved all the students who had been doubting Sophia. He was standing by her even now. Their love was so noble. And Sophia, she had always been a top student. People didn't just like her because they thought she was rich. They admired her for her academic excellence and character. I, on the other hand, was just a lazy, shameless rich kid trying to buy affection. Watching the two of them put on this show, I had to fight back tears of mock sentimentality. It was so touching. Those two deserved each other. They should be chained together forever. It was all my fault for being so blind and getting in their way. Thanks to Sophia's performance, everyone now saw me as a complete idiot. I had just shed the labels of doormat and servant's son, only to be ostracized for my bad grades. But I didn't really care. Compared to the utter loneliness and despair of my past life, their petty high school drama was nothing. After all, I had wealth and I had parents who loved me. I focused on my classes and ignored them completely. After school, my father drove over to pick me up, and my mother was with him. They were in their 40s now, but they had been the it couple in their youth, and they were still an incredibly handsome and elegant pair. My mother got out of the car, gave me a warm hug, and then thoughtfully opened the car door for me. Sophia and Ryan had just walked out of the school and saw the whole thing. The classmates with them saw me with an older woman and were immediately curious. "Is that Ethan's new target?" one of them whispered. Sophia had mentioned it that morning. Ryan had said the woman looked to be in her 40s. What was her relationship with Ethan? The rumors started instantly. I knew Ethan couldn't be some rich heir. He's being kept by a sugar mama. And here I was thinking he was actually someone important. No wonder Sophia didn't want to be with him. I wouldn't be caught dead with a guy like that. He's so young too. That's just disgusting. Hearing them slander me, Sophia didn't bother to correct them. Ryan looked at her, and her silence confirmed his suspicions. Suddenly, he felt a wave of relief. Even though my grades were terrible, my family's wealth, the ability to spend a fortune in a single night, had always bothered Ryan. It made him feel inherently inferior. But now, believing my money came from a sugar mama, he felt a sense of balance restore. At least he would never do something so shameless. He would rely on his own hard work to achieve his dreams. One day, he would have everything I had, but he would have earned it. Ryan and Sophia got on the bus. "I'm not going your way today," Sophia told him. Now that she couldn't earn money tutoring me, she had found a part-time job. Her father's gambling debts were piling up, and he used to take most of her money. Now she had to find a way to support herself. "Okay," Ryan said. "My parents took me to get a new phone, and then we went out for a nice dinner. When we got to the restaurant, Chloe was already there. Chloe was living in Crestwood with her uncle, Mr. Sterling, who was a good friend of my father's. This dinner was the first formal meeting between our families. My father had wanted to arrange it for a long time, but I had always fiercely objected, as I only had eyes for Sophia. The fact that I was willing to come tonight filled my father with relief. His son was finally growing up, finally listening to him. He and Chloe's uncle had a great time catching up during the meal. I sat next to Chloe and told her about the bet I'd made, about improving my rank by 100 places. When I finished, she didn't say much, just a quiet acknowledgement. I couldn't read her expression. "Do you think I was being reckless? That it's too much pressure?" She looked at me. "No. So you think I have a chance? I mean, I've been understanding everything you've taught me." "Don't worry," Chloe said, looking at me intently. "Just leave it to me. And you're very smart. You're not stupid like some people say." The some people she was referring to was obviously Sophia. She hadn't said anything at the time, but she had remembered Sophia calling me stupid. I smiled, relieved. "Well, if you say so, I guess I'll be troubling you a lot for the next few weeks." "It's no trouble." As we were talking, I suddenly realized the rest of the table had gone silent. I looked up and saw my father and Chloe's uncle both watching us, which made me feel a little awkward. "Dad, why are you staring?" "It's nothing," he said, smiling. "You two, please continue." My father went back to his conversation with Mr. Sterling, but I could tell he was pleased. Our relationship really did seem good. Even though he had arranged this match himself, he probably felt like his son was being stolen away. After dinner, my father and Mr. Sterling still had business to discuss, so Chloe and I left first. We didn't go home, finding a nearby coffee shop instead. I went up to order some ice cream, and when I came back, I sat down next to Chloe and we went back to discussing my homework. My mind was completely focused on my studies. After all, running a 10K would probably kill me. "Here you go." The server brought our order over. I looked up and saw that the person in the uniform was none other than Sophia. I stared at her, surprised. "What are you doing here?" Sophia shot me a cold glare. "I should be asking you that. Did you find out I work here and come just to mess with me?" Even though I was acting cold, Sophia was convinced I was still obsessed with her and that this was just another ploy to get her attention. Otherwise, how could it be a coincidence that I showed up at her new part-time job? "You're overthinking it," I said. "It's a complete coincidence." Sophia glanced at Chloe, then turned and walked away without another word. clearly not wanting to waste any more time on us. Seeing her walk away with that same arrogant air, I couldn't understand what she had to be so proud of. I turned and offered the ice cream to Chloe, but she shook her head. "You have it," she said. She reached for my backpack and stood up, ready to leave with me. I had planned on staying a bit longer, but running into Sophia had completely ruined the mood. For the next 2 weeks, I studied like a man possessed. Chloe came to my house to tutor me almost every day, and my understanding of the material improved dramatically. But every time Sophia saw me studying so intently, she couldn't resist making a sarcastic comment. She would lean over from her desk. "Ethan, if you're having second thoughts, it's not too late to give up. Just don't come crying when the test scores are posted." "You're distracting me?" I said, frowning as I put in my earbuds to block her out. When the big test was finally over, I felt a huge sense of relief and rushed home, feeling great. The scores weren't out yet, but I was confident I had done well. Chloe was already in the backyard, sipping tea while keeping Snowy company. The dog was getting chubbier. I walked over, gave Snowy a hug, and said to Chloe, "You're here early today." Chloe looked up at me. "I'm always here early." "I'm just curious," I said. "Don't you have any extracurriculars or anything at school?" Sophia was a top student too, and she and Ryan were always busy with something. But Chloe seemed to have a lot more free time. She was always here before I got home. "I have a more flexible schedule," Chloe explained. "They don't micromanage me." "Huh? So no school clubs or anything?" "I don't usually join them, not even student government," she said with a shake of her head. "I'll do competitions sometimes, but that's about it." "Why not?" "It's not very interesting," she said. "And the teachers agree it's kind of an unfair advantage. It can be demoralizing for the other students." "But I feel like I've seen you in a lot of competitions," I said. "Sophia used to complain that you were at every competition she entered, always taking first place from her. That's why she hates you so much." Chloe just took a quiet sip of her tea. It was true. If Sophia was in a competition, Chloe usually made a point to be there too. I was dying to know how I did on the test, so Chloe and I went over the answer key in the backyard. I had gotten a lot of them right, and my mood soared. When the scores were posted, our homeroom teacher came into the classroom and, as usual, started by praising Sophia and Ryan. They had placed first and second again. After congratulating them, the teacher added, "But this time, there's someone else I want to mention, and that person is Ethan." I sat up straighter, my attention peaked. Sophia shot me a look, her eyes dripping with sarcasm. The teacher continued, "Ethan did exceptionally well on this test. He's always been at the bottom of the class, but he's made incredible progress. His score puts him in the top 200 of the entire grade. If he keeps this up, he'll do great on the SATs." The top 200? Everyone's eyes went wide. Even Sophia was stunned. She had thought improving by 100 places was an impossible task for me, and now I was in the top 200? I hadn't expected such a huge jump myself. It was more than I dared to hope for. Maybe it was because I had suffered so much in my past life that I no longer had any interest in slacking off. I was completely focused. I paid attention in every class and reviewed everything with Chloe afterward. She was an amazing teacher. She could take the most difficult problems and make them seem simple. It just proved that hard work really does pay off. "Teacher, are you sure there wasn't a mistake?" someone asked. "Ethan's grades were always so bad. How could he?" "There's no mistake," the teacher said, looking at me with a proud smile. He had always been frustrated having a student who dragged down the class average, so he was thrilled with my improvement. Getting the teacher's praise made me incredibly happy. I glanced over and saw Sophia watching me silently, her face unreadable. I turned to her. "So, still think I'm stupid? Don't forget about that 10K. Sophia pressed her lips together, completely bewildered. How could someone so stupid improve so much? Was Chloe really that good of a teacher? After school, Sophia was forced to run her 10K. I didn't go home. I stayed specifically to watch the show. I sat on the bleachers, watching her struggle, and a deep sense of satisfaction washed over me. Felt amazing. Ryan watched me from the sidelines, his expression cold and hard. Leo leaned over and whispered to him, "It's just the top 200. What's the big deal? He's acting like he came in first. Sophia got first place and she's not this smug. And you got second." Ryan's gaze shifted to the struggling Sophia. "A bet's a bet," he said flatly. "Sophia's not a sore loser." "Exactly," Leo agreed. "And so what if his grades are better? He still has to go home and serve that sugar mama. The thought of him with that old woman is just disgusting." "Don't gossip," Ryan said. "You're just too good of a guy." "Ryan," Leo said, slinging an arm around his shoulder. By the time Sophia finished her run, the sun had almost set. She staggered back, drenched in sweat, and glared at me. Satisfied? I nodded. Good job. Feel free to make another bet with me anytime. With that, I stood up and walked away, feeling absolutely euphoric. Sophia watched me go. I was so happy I was practically skipping. She was used to me fawning over her like a pathetic puppy, but now, I wouldn't even give her a second glance. She thought about me and Chloe. Was I really going to end up with her? Both the Carters and the Sterlings were wealthy. We were a perfect match. If we really got together, the thought made Sophia's stomach turn. It felt like something that belonged to her was being stolen. Sophia. Ryan noticed her staring after me. You must be exhausted. Here, drink some water. He handed her a water bottle. Sophia took it. Thank you. She was always so polite in front of Ryan. That was a tough run, Ryan said. But it is strange. Ethan's grades were always terrible. How did he improve so much all of a sudden? You don't think he cheated, do you? Leo chimed in. I bet he did. He probably cheated just to make Sophia lose. Think about it, she tutored him every day and his grades were still garbage. How else could he improve that fast? That's just talk, Ryan said, glancing at Leo. You can't make accusations without proof. If he comes after you, you'll be in serious trouble. I'm telling the teachers tomorrow, Leo declared. I took the car home, excited to share the news with Chloe. After all, I couldn't have made Sophia eat her words without Chloe's help. But when I got there, Mrs. Davis told me that Miss Sterling hadn't come over today. I felt a pang of disappointment. I changed my clothes and went down to the dining room to eat alone. My dad was out of town on business, so it was just me in the house. I decided to call Chloe. Chloe was at home, swimming in her pool. A maid approached and said quietly, Miss, you have a phone call. The figure in the pool didn't seem to hear. The maid added, It's from Ethan Carter. Chloe surfaced and glided to the edge of the pool. The maid was there instantly with a towel, wrapping it around her shoulders. Chloe took the phone, the stern look on her face melting into something softer as she answered. Hello. Hey, are you busy? Am I interrupting anything? I asked. I was just swimming, she replied. I heard you didn't come over today, so I just wanted to call and see if everything was okay. Something came up, she said simply. I laughed. Well, I have good news. I improved so much I made it into the top 200. And you know what? Sophia had to run her 10K today. Watching her eat her words was the most satisfying thing ever. Chloe walked over to a lounge chair and sat down, listening patiently as I excitedly recounted the day's events. After a moment, I asked, Are you still there? I'm listening, she replied. Congratulations. I'm not bothering you, am I? No, it's fine. I'm free right now. You've been coming over every single day. You must be exhausted. Why don't you take a couple of days off? I can study on my own. If I get stuck, I'll just message you on Instagram. All right, she agreed. Chloe, I said, not wanting to hang up just yet. You sound a little down. Did something happen? Is there anything I can do to help? My question seemed to surprise her. She thought she sounded the same as always. She never expected I'd be able to tell she was upset just from the sound of her voice. When she didn't answer, I continued, I know you tend to keep things to yourself. But Chloe, we're a team now, right? You've helped me so much. Let me help you. I never would have gotten that score without her. I couldn't just take her help for granted, especially since it wasn't like she needed the money. Hearing me describe us as a team, a small, reluctant smile touched Chloe's lips. Okay, she said. The next day, the moment I walked into the classroom, I could feel the strange atmosphere. Leo and a few of his friends blocked my path, smirking. Don't get too comfortable, Ethan, Leo announced loudly. With grades improving that fast, who's to say you didn't cheat? We've already reported you to the administration. Do you dare to take a retest? Ryan stood nearby, pretending to be a peacemaker but actually fanning the flames. Leo, don't make baseless accusations. But Ethan, to prove your innocence, you should probably agree to a retest, right? I watched their pathetic performance, feeling completely calm. The old me would have been furious, humiliated. But now I just found it laughable. This was the perfect stage. A chance to completely shatter their last remaining delusions about me. Fine by me, I said with a cool smile. You name the time and place. The news spread like wildfire. A special retest, proctored by the academic dean and the heads of every department, became the talk of the school. When Sophia heard, a spark of hope returned to her eyes. She refused to believe I could have improved on my own. This had to be another one of my schemes, and this time, she would be there to watch me crash and burn. On the day of the retest, I was placed in a separate room, surrounded by a panel of stern-faced teachers. Outside the window, Sophia, Ryan, Leo, and their friends watched me like vultures waiting for a verdict. The test was handed out, and it was significantly harder than the last one. But I wasn't flustered. In the past few weeks, Chloe had completely rebuilt my understanding of the material, giving me a new framework and unique problem-solving strategies. I picked up my pen, and the answers flowed effortlessly. 2 hours later, I finished early and handed in my test, walking out of the room to the stunned silence of the onlookers. The results were ready that same afternoon. The academic dean himself came to our classroom, his expression complex as he announced, Ethan Carter's score on the retest was 15 points higher than his original score. The school apologizes for the misunderstanding. The classroom was dead silent. Leo's face turned beet red, and the friendly mask on Ryan's face finally cracked. Sophia was leaning against the wall for support, her face as white as a sheet, her body trembling. Her most prized possession, her top student halo, had just been shattered by my undeniable results. Just then, a murmur went through the students looking out the window. A black Rolls-Royce Phantom had pulled up silently in front of the school. The door opened, and an impeccably dressed, distinguished-looking couple stepped out. The man was imposing and dignified, the woman elegant and beautiful, though her perfectly maintained face wore a look of displeasure. "Which one of you is Leo, and which one is Ryan?" my mother asked, her voice quiet but carrying an authority that could not be ignored. She walked into the classroom, her gaze sweeping over the students. "I hear you're the ones who started the rumor that my son is being kept by a sugar mama?" Every eye in the room was on us. When they saw me walk over to the couple and casually say, "Dad, Mom," their jaws hit the floor. The sugar mama? Was you?" Leo stammered, looking like he was about to faint. "That Maybach, it's really yours?" another student asked, their voice trembling. My father snorted, his sharp gaze sweeping over Ryan and Sophia. "Does a Carter need to mooch a ride from a chauffeur?" "Sophia, I was lenient with you because your father worked for me. But not only were you ungrateful, you allowed others to slander my son. A testament to your fine upbringing." The truth hit the room like a bomb. The billionaire's son, the cheating scandal, the chauffeur's daughter, the sugar mama rumors. All the pieces fell into place, creating a picture that was both absurd and deeply ironic. I was no longer the pathetic doormat or the servant's son. I was something they could never hope to touch. After that day, everything changed. Sophia completely fell apart. Her pride, her entire persona, was shattered. Her father's gambling debts spiraled out of control, and without my support, she was forced to work multiple menial jobs just to get by. Her grades plummeted. She bombed her SATs and ended up at a no-name community college, fading into obscurity. Ryan, after seeing the true extent of the Carter family's power, had a complete crisis of values. His so-called loyalty proved worthless the moment Sophia lost her value. He quickly distanced himself from her. Though he got into a good university, the shadow of having been associated with a fraud lingered, making him cynical and materialistic. As for me, I went to find Chloe that evening. "You were upset the other day because your family doesn't approve of us, right?" I asked, looking at her, feeling certain for the first time. Chloe was silent for a moment before nodding. "They thought you were too foolish before, that you weren't worth waiting for. They wanted me to transfer back to a school in New York." I reached out and took her hand. "And now, am I still foolish?" She looked up, her cool, clear eyes reflecting my own. A small but incredibly firm smile touched her lips. "No, I told them I believed in you. Ethan, I've always believed in you." In that moment, her words banished all the lingering shadows and insecurities from my past life. A few years later, under a brilliant blue sky, surrounded by palm trees on a private island, our wedding was a grand, romantic affair. I stood under a floral arch in a white tuxedo, watching Chloe walk towards me in her wedding gown. She was as stunning and composed as ever, but the warmth in her eyes was reserved only for me. I had graduated from a top university and was already making a name for myself as I began to take over the family business. When it was time to exchange rings, I got down on one knee. As I slid the diamond ring, which we had named Rebirth, onto her finger, my voice trembled. "Chloe, when I was at my lowest, when I had no faith in myself, you were the one who believed I could shine. You showed me that life could start over, and that it could be beautiful. Thank you for healing me, and for making me whole." She leaned down and pressed a soft kiss to my forehead. At that exact moment, on a large screen in the reception hall, a news ticker flashed across the bottom. Local police successfully dismantle major cross-border gambling ring. Main suspect, a Mr. Miller, apprehended while attempting to flee. His daughter is also under investigation for alleged involvement in money laundering and obstruction, and is reportedly destitute. I gave it only a passing glance before turning my attention back to the present. Those people, that part of my life was a closed chapter, not worth a second thought. I stood up, pulled my beautiful bride into my arms, and as our friends and family cheered and the waves crashed on the shore, I kissed her deeply. The sun was shining, and the future was bright. This life, I had finally grasped my own happiness.